This is the political equivalent of a Julius Caesar moment. For half a decade, JD Vance served as the loyal foot soldier. He was the enforcer, the surrogate who went on television to justify the unjustifiable, who polished MAGA's sharpest edges for wealthy backers, and who stood silently behind the president as chaos spread. But this morning, Saturday, January 31st, 2026, that silence shattered and loyalty collapsed. Addressing the disastrous ICE operation at Holy Grace Tabernacle in Dallas, where federal agents fired tear gas at children sheltering in a church basement, Vance used a term that is virtually banned inside Trump's White House: mistake. He described the raid as an operational failure. He admitted the administration had lost control of the narrative, and in the most explosive portion of the recording, he told a room of alarmed donors that he was personally stepping in to repair the damage because the current approach amounted to a suicide pact. This was not a verbal misstep. This was an insurrection. President Trump, already isolated in the residence after the Davos debacle, the Japanese bond collapse, and the implosion of Florida polling, is reportedly enraged. He has been calling Vance a snake and a traitor, but he is also confronting a terrifying reality. He cannot remove his vice president. In this extensive deep dive report, we will play the audio that is accelerating the unraveling of the Trump presidency. We will expose the parallel political operation that Vance and his Silicon Valley financiers, led by Peter Thiel, have been quietly assembling for months. And we will explain why this betrayal represents the first tangible legal step toward invoking the 25th Amendment. The ship is taking on water, but the first mate has already lowered the lifeboat. To understand the magnitude of this moment, we have to examine the backdrop. While Washington, D.C. was frozen yesterday by Make America Go Away protests, JD Vance quietly slipped out of town and returned to Ohio. The public schedule read, family time. The truth was a frantic emergency summit with Republican mega donors at a private estate in New Albany. These are the people who finance super PACs, the energy barons, crypto tycoons, and industrial giants. They are terrified. The Japan bond crash decimated their portfolios. The Canadian blockade is strangling supply chains. The Holy Grace raid is alienating their Christian employees. They demanded answers. Vance gave them candor. The audio was leaked to Politico and the New York Times by a donor present who believed the public deserved to hear it. Here is the central exchange from the transcript. Does the president understand that? The president is focused on the fight, but in the intensity of conflict, you can lose sight of collateral damage. That's why I'm stepping in. I've spoken with the Attorney General. Tactical protocols are under immediate review. We're going to stop the bleeding. If the current strategy is a suicide pact, I'm not signing it. Let's break this down. Operational failure. Trump publicly defended the raid and labeled the pastor a criminal trafficker. Vance just undercut that defense entirely. I am stepping in. He did not say the president requested assistance. He asserted initiative. That is an open claim to executive authority above the president. He was signaling to donors that he is now operating as the functional head of government. Suicide pact. That phrase is lethal. It reframes loyalty to Trump as political self-harm and gives donors permission to abandon him to save the party. This leak was deliberate. JD Vance is methodical. He knew phones were in the room. He wanted this recorded. He wanted the public to see him as the responsible adult while Trump appears unhinged. Inside the White House this morning, sources describe the atmosphere as explosive. Trump woke up to headlines screaming, "Vance breaks ranks. VP calls raid a mistake." For a man who demands absolute loyalty, this is unforgivable. Mike Pence refused to overturn an election, but he never publicly criticized Trump's policy while in office. Vance just did. Sources say Trump attempted to summon Vance to the Oval Office. Vance declined. His staff informed the president that the vice president would remain in Ohio to reassure the base. That was a calculated power move. Trump cannot fire him. The vice president is a constitutional officer elected separately. Trump can strip resources, deny access, and freeze him out. But removal is impossible. At 8 a.m., Trump posted on Truth Social claiming Vance was being misled by globalist donors, didn't understand the Dallas raid, and needed to toughen up or step aside. The message lacked force. It was defensive, not dominant. Trump understands that without Vance, he loses the Senate, Silicon Valley funding, and the future of the party. And Vance knows it. Why did Vance move now? Follow the money. JD Vance is a political creation of Peter Thiel and the PayPal mafia. His ascent was financed by Silicon Valley libertarians who wanted disruption, but not collapse. The nationwide boycott we discussed yesterday is devastating big tech. The European Union's threat to suspend US data transfers is existential for companies like Google, Meta, and Palantir. If Europe shuts the data pipeline, Silicon Valley loses nearly a third of its revenue. Sources say Peter Thiel and Elon Musk confronted Vance earlier this week with a blunt message. The Trump experiment has failed. Capital markets are bleeding. The brand is toxic. Save the vehicle. Vance is the bridge between MAGA and Capital just told him to cut MAGA loose to stabilize the economy. His Ohio remarks were a message to the markets. Don't panic yet. I'm taking control. And markets reacted. Stocks edged upward on news of the leak. Algorithms favor Vance. They punish Trump. When Wall Street starts pricing in your replacement, the countdown has begun. Now we must address the constitutional mechanism suddenly in play. The 25th Amendment, Section 4. It allows the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president unfit to discharge the duties of office. Until now, this was theoretical. You need the VP to lead it. Today, the VP signaled he's willing to break. Is he counting votes? Look at the cabinet. State humiliated and sidelined? Likely yes. Treasury terrified after the Japan bond collapse? Likely yes. Defense furious over military misuse? Almost certainly yes. Vance doesn't need to invoke it today. He only needs to let it loom. He is telling Trump, let me run things. Or else. This is a soft coup. Vance becomes the functional executive while Trump is reduced to ceremonial posting. Agencies will stop responding to Trump's orders and route decisions through Vance's office. We are watching the presidency be hollowed out in real time. The Holy Grace raid was the spark because it split the base. Vance, a Catholic convert, understands the religious right better than Trump ever has. He knows that gassing children in a church basement is a moral red line. By calling it a mistake, Vance sided with the church over the state. He told Christians, I am with you. Trump is chaos. That gives the base permission to abandon Trump without abandoning the movement. This is a cold, Machiavellian maneuver. He is stripping MAGA from its founder. He is betting voters are exhausted. They loved the spectacle in 2016. In 2026, with high gas prices, instability, and violence, they want order. Vance offers MAGA without madness. International reaction has been one of relief. European diplomats are studying the Ohio transcript like scripture. If Vance is stepping in, maybe trade wars cool. Maybe threats stop. Maybe diplomacy returns. Reports indicate Germany's foreign minister has already contacted Vance's office directly, bypassing official channels. That confirms it. The shadow presidency is real. When foreign governments stop calling the president and start calling the vice president, power has already shifted. What does this mean for the rest of 2026 or 2028? The Trump-Vance ticket is finished. They cannot stand together. Picture a rally. Trump declares the raid was great. Vance calls it a mistake. Impossible. Vance is positioning himself for the nomination, and he isn't waiting. If the midterms collapse, the party will blame Trump. Vance wants the record to show he tried to save them. The White House is now a house divided, and divided houses fall, especially with protesters at the gates and creditors at the door. JD Vance saw the iceberg. Boycotts, crashes, raids, and chose survival. He sacrificed the president to save the party. Calculated, ruthless, effective. Trump is now fighting on three fronts: domestic unrest, global economic pressure, and internal rebellion. He cannot win all three. History suggests he won't win any. Subscribe. We are watching the cabinet closely. If emergency meetings appear at the Naval Observatory, the 25th Amendment is live. The betrayal is complete. The endgame has begun. To understand the intellectual blueprint behind this move, look to Peter Thiel. He believes states are inefficient and individuals rule. Trump was the wrecking ball meant to shatter the old system. But now the wrecking ball is destroying value. Thiel hates losing money. Vance is the upgrade. Trump was the beta. The Ohio tapes are the patch notes for Government 2.0. Notice how Vance framed the raid. Not through liberal human rights language, but through sacred space. He didn't say immigrants have rights. He said you don't gas a church. That distinction preserves the base while condemning the tactic. It's political precision Trump lacks. Watch the agencies next week. DHS, DOJ, Treasury. Career officials heard the tape. They know who the future is. Trump's directives will stall. Vance's will move. This is how power actually operates. It follows gravity, and gravity just shifted. The leak was the signal. Even the vice president wants the chaos to end. Stay alert, watch the markets, watch the Justice Department. The coup is quiet, but it's moving.